Okay. And now we are at the last chapter of tactics, the double threat. Slightly advanced concept, but very important. And practice this and understand this, you will win many, many games using the same methods. Okay. So the idea is very simple, similar to the double attack examples that we saw in the opening chapter. Now, here the idea is, and we'll try to understand that using this particular position. Okay. Now, what I see is black has two particular problems. The black king is trapped in the last line and can be checkmated. Okay. And the bishop on c3 is unsupported. So let us see. I'll make a move, rook c3. Now what happens? Okay. So with the rook c3, what I did, I created an attack on the bishop on c3, right? And I also was threatening a checkmate with the rook on c8, right? So let us do it again. Okay, so I'll retry. Take two. Okay, okay. In this chapter, which is the last lesson in tactics in our course, we'll look at a very interesting and advanced concept of the double threat. Okay, it is very similar to the examples of double attack which we saw in the opening chapter. But here it is two threats. Okay, so we'll try to understand using this example. Okay, now imagine I put the rook on c5, right? So what are the two threats I am creating? I'm creating two threats. What are those? One is that I'm saying I will take the rook over to c8 and give a checkmate. Correct? So that is a pretty dangerous threat. And the second one is I am also attacking the bishop on c3. So what are the two threats that I have created? One is that I have created the biggest threat which is possible in chess, the checkmate threat, right? If black wants to continue the game, he probably has to move the king and avoid the checkmate, but still he will end up losing the bishop. Okay, so what did we do? We created two threats, one threat of checkmate and one threat of loss of a piece. Logically, black should take care of the bigger threat, which is the checkmate threat, and will end up losing the piece. Let us see how it goes. I will put the rook on c5. The king moves, logical thing to do. And though I cannot do checkmate now because the king can escape to g7, I can go ahead and capture the piece. Okay, and yes, this is correct. So I hope it is uh, understood. Very interesting concept, creating two threats which are kind of independent of each other. Opponent has to take care of the bigger one. In this case, it was the checkmate, and we are able to use the threat of checkmate to win a piece. Okay, we'll see a few more examples. Okay, very interesting. This is a beautiful concept, and let us say how we can use the concept of double threat in this case. So again, the first thing I see that the black king is little bit restricted in the corner. Okay, then I see the rook. If it were possible for it to come here, would have been a checkmate, right? Let us see. And so then I get the idea if I put the bishop to e4. Now the bishop on e4 is helping the rook to go to h7. So what I'm doing, I'm threatening checkmate while also attacking the unsupported rook on b1. So you see how the two threat thing is working. We are creating one bigger threat, in this case checkmate again, like we did in the last example. The second threat is capture of a piece. So logically we have to take care of the bigger threat if you wish to continue the game. So let us say what happens. Bishop e4. Yes, the correct option. The knight moves away, preventing checkmate, but black ends up losing the rook. Okay. So I hope you're finding it very interesting. The creation of two threats. Okay, one big, one small. Okay, the bigger threat has to be taken care of, and you end up losing the smaller material. Okay. Okay, in this, I will allow you to think for a few moments. I will give a hint. Okay. Now, if you see, the black king's position is little bit compromised, right? Because the pawns have moved forward. Pawns are the basic defensive creatures on the chessboard, and if they move ahead, the king feels little bit unsafe, right? And we have this bishop with its long range extended up till the very last square. Okay. Second tip is there is another piece which is unsupported lying far away in the corner on A7. Now, the thing is, how do we use these two things, these two weaknesses? Okay, in chess, the basic principle is the theory of two weaknesses. Okay, so there are two weaknesses. One can be, both are attacked at the same time. One can be protected, one cannot be, and thereby you win a material or whatever. Okay, so take a moment to think how can we use the bishop, maybe combine it with the white queen and threaten two things at the same time. Okay. So the correct idea is, and I hope you found it, queen to d4. Now what I'm doing, the queen d4 in conjunction with the bishop on a1 is threatening to go all the way till either g7 or h8 and checkmating the black king. What is the other thing it is doing? It is also attacking the unsupported or the hanging piece on a7. Okay, so which is the biggest threat? The threat of checkmate. So logically, black blocks it, but like we did in the last few examples, we still get to capture the piece for free. Very interesting, right? We'll see a few more, and remaining you can try on your own. Okay. Okay. Very interesting, little bit complicated, but I'll take you through to the thinking process, which I used to arrive at the correct solution. Okay, so now what do I see in this position? Okay, my queen is here. Now I am wondering if I could somehow take the queen to h8. So it is a checkmate, right? Suddenly it is a checkmate. Now what is happening? The queen is blocked by my own knight. Okay, so then I'm thinking if I can make the knight jump to a some square where it also attacks something. So I'm thinking about now knight to f5. It does so many things. It attacks the queen. It protects the pawn on e3 so that the queen cannot capture it and give a check, and even make a escape route for the king from e7, right? So now let us see what happens when we move the knight to f5. The knight is attacking the queen, and suddenly the path for the queen is open to go all the way up till h8. Okay, and do the checkmate. So again, like in the last few examples, we do many threats. I put the knight to f5, and black logically stops the checkmate. Okay, but ends up losing the queen. Okay, now you're understanding how we are creating two threats. The checkmate is the biggest threat. In conjunction with the threat on another piece, opponent has to take care of the checkmate. We end up winning a piece, and hopefully using that material, we will win the game also. We look at maybe two more examples. Let us see what do we have here. Okay, Very common theme, happens all the time in the chessboard out of many openings. Now, what do I see here? Okay, I see there is one attack on h7, and I can increase that by queen to e4. So when I put the queen to e4, what happens? The queen and the bishop are attacking the h7 square. The queen can go to h7 and do a checkmate. While we are also attacking the bishop again. So right now there's a single attack on the bishop with the knight. So it is balanced with the defense of the queen. But suddenly when we play queen e4, the equilibrium of the position changes. Now the bishop is attacked twice, now with the queen and the knight, while the bishop and queen combination is also threatening a checkmate on h7, right? Very important method of attack. Again, very logically, black prevents the bigger threat of checkmate, but has to agree to losing a piece. Okay, with that, we'll go to the last example. I hope these examples are making it clear how we can use this method of double threat to create two threats at the same time, maybe one checkmate threat and another win of the material, and gain a great advantage. Okay. Now, this is a very interesting example, and I really love it. Okay, so very unique way of creating two threads at the same time. Okay, so now what happens? Let us say queen moves here. Okay, it's a single attack. Rook moves away to a safe place, and we don't gain anything. Okay, think for a moment. If you figure it out, you will be really happy. So, how do you create a double threat? Very, very unique way, very unique position, quite rare too, but yes. And the move here is, if you want, pause the lesson for a moment, think about it, and I'll be very happy if you find the move of long castle. Such an amazing move. Now, what was happening? As soon as we castled long, the king starts attacking the rook, while the rook and the queen combination was threatening a checkmate on d8, right? Black again logically prevents the checkmate, but ends up losing the rook. Quite amazing, right? Just for the fun of it, we'll see it again. Okay, so the move is long castle. See, as soon as the the king comes to c1, right? The rook will jump over to d1, and with the support of the d1 rook, the queen can go all the way upright to do checkmate. And while the king attacks the rook. Really interesting example. Probably deserves explanation mark. Okay, so I do long castle. Black prevents the checkmate, ends up losing the rook. Okay, so I hope you found all these examples very interesting. We create two threads. In these few examples, we see the biggest threat of checkmate appearing in conjunction with attack on one of the other pieces. Logically, one of the sides prevents the checkmate, but ends up losing the piece. Okay, I encourage you to do all these exercises to develop your understanding of these tactics, and this will be really, really helpful in your games. Okay, with this, we conclude this chapter, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.